All right, today we're talking about a threat that's totally flipping cybersecurity on its head. We're not talking about ransomware that's banging down your front door. No, this is the kind that gets handed the keys by someone you already trust. Seriously, just think about that for a second. Your software vendors, your service providers, all the partners you rely on day in and day out. What if they were the secret backdoor for a massive attack on your company? Well, that's not a what if anymore. It's the new reality, and we're going to break it all down. So let's just call this what it is, right? It's the modern-day Trojan horse. Attackers have figured out, hey, why bother trying to storm the castle gates when you can just hide inside a gift that the company will happily roll right through the front door? It's brilliant and terrifying. You see, a supply chain attack isn't really about your security, at least not at first. It's about an attacker scanning your whole network of trusted partners, your suppliers, your vendors, and finding that one weak link. And once they find it, they use that partner as a launch pad straight into your systems. And this is the really sneaky part. The attackers aren't hacking their way in. They're just walking in. They use what looks like legitimate access, valid login credentials or a trusted software update from a vendor. And because it all looks normal, it's almost impossible to spot. Until it's way too late. Okay, so how does this actually play out in the real world? Let's take a look at the most common ways these attackers manage to turn your own partners against you. And trust me, the list of potential entry points is probably a lot bigger than you think. So the classic example, right, is a tainted software update. An attacker slips some malicious code into a routine patch from a vendor you trust. And boom, every single client, and that includes you, installs it. But it's not just that. It could be an unsecured API, a simple phishing email that one of your vendors falls for, or even a piece of hardware that's been tampered with. Seriously, the weak links can be anywhere. Now, as if all of that wasn't stressful enough, there's a whole new layer of pressure that completely changes the game. I'm talking about a ticking clock. A clock that starts the second you realize you've had a major breach. 4. Just 4. That's how many business days you have. Thanks to new rules from the SEC, public companies now have only 4 business days to go public with any cyber incident they decide is material. And material just means it's something an investor would probably want to know about before buying or selling stock. The pressure here is just absolutely insane. I mean, you have to understand what a massive change this is. We went from this old world where reporting was kind of inconsistent, it was based on guidance, and companies took, get this, an average of 79 days to tell anyone. Now, it's mandatory, it's a hard rule, and the deadline is 4 days. Poof! All that time you had to get your story straight and manage the crisis behind the scenes, it's gone. And make no mistake, this isn't just some new headache for the IT department to deal with. This deadline yanks cybersecurity out of the server room and drops it right onto the boardroom table. It's now a core issue of corporate governance. This quote pretty much says it all, doesn't it? A cyber incident is now officially a material business risk. That means it needs board-level attention, board-level oversight, and board-level accountability. The buck now stops at the very, very top. And hey, don't think for a second this is just an American or an SEC thing. This is happening everywhere. It's a global trend. You've got DORA and the NIS2 directive over in Europe. You've got industry standards like HIPAA for healthcare. Regulators all over the world are basically saying the same thing. You are responsible for the security of your entire supply chain, period. Okay, so you've got this incredibly complex threat coming at you from your partners, and you've got this brutal regulatory clock breathing down your neck. So, what do? Well, let's walk through a playbook for how to actually build resilience in this new world. The whole strategy really boils down to 3 key things. 1, you've got to be super careful about who you let into your digital circle of trust. That's your offense. 2, you have to lock down your own data like it's Fort Knox because you have to assume a breach is coming. That's your defense. And 3, you have to practice your response. You have to rehearse for that crisis because that 4-day clock doesn't care if you're ready or not. All right, first up, vetting your vendors. And this can't be a one-and-done thing you do when you first sign them on. No way. It has to be a continuous process. I'm talking about doing really tough security checks before you sign anything, demanding proof of their security controls, and constantly keeping an eye on their risk level. Look, your security is only as good as your partners, so you have to constantly verify that you can actually trust them. But look, even with the best vetting in the world, one of your partners could still get hit. You just have to assume it's going to happen. And that's why locking down your own data is so critical. We're talking about having clean, immutable, meaning unchangeable, and totally separate, air-gapped backups. When a ransomware attack happens, being able to restore your data without paying up, well, that's not just a backup plan. That's your ultimate trump card. And finally, step 3, you have to practice. You have to rehearse. That 4-day clock is brutal, and trust me, the middle of a crisis is the absolute worst time to be figuring out your game plan. You need a playbook ready to go so you can decide fast if an incident is material. You need a team that's not just your security folks, but also includes legal, investor relations, the whole shebang. And you've got to run drills. You have to do tabletop exercises that simulate a real breach so when the real thing happens, your team isn't panicking because they've already been through it. So if there's one thing you take away from this, let it be this. For years, cybersecurity was all about building higher and higher walls to keep the bad guys out. That game has changed. Now you have to work from the assumption that the walls will be breached. Success isn't just about preventing an attack anymore. It's about how you manage the public fallout, the whole aftermath, in those first critical hours and days. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Imagine it's Monday morning. You get a call from one of your most trusted vendors, and they tell you they've been hit, and the attackers are now inside your network. The question is your board ready to face investors, regulators, and the public by Friday? Are you ready? Because that 4-day clock, it just started ticking.